Welcome, everybody. I am Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And today we're celebrating one of our newest books, Stop Overworking and Start Overflowing, 25 ways to transform your life using human design. And as you can see, I have some of our authors here, some of the amazing experts today to share their wisdom. But first, I wanted to say a big thank you to Kristi Sullivan, you guys. She's our lead author on this book. Christy had a pretty big mission with this book to bring together the practitioners, coaches, guides who have made human design a part of their lives and are now helping other people transform theirs. So authors, welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
I am so happy to have all of you, and I can't wait to get into this discussion. So Jacqueline Martinez helps individuals get clarity in their career so they can find fulfillment and success in their 9 to 5. I have Mary Jo Rathgeb. She is you guys are going to have to tell me how to say this, 1-3 projector. Is that how to say that? Okay. She is a 1-3. I want to say 1/3 all the time when I see that in something, right? That's 1-3 projector who is experimenting with innovations for projectors and invitations for projectors and how they impact flow versus overworking. I have Sabina Messner. She's the founder of Soul Purpose Wealth, where people step fully into their life's calling and find meaning, fulfillment, and riches in doing meaningful work. So let's go with Jacqueline first to start this party. Tell us about this amazing chapter that you wrote.
Oh, thanks, Laura. I love starting parties. Awesome. So I'm Jacqueline Martinez, and I wrote chapter 24, which is titled Creating a World-Class Career, from exhausted and unfulfilled to the career of your dreams. And basically my story is I was creating a life that on the outside looked pretty picture perfect for, a young person in career, had a leadership role, had, the husband, the house. And I got to a point where I realized it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't fulfilling me on the inside. So my story is that I went off to find what that was, and human design really supported me in that journey. And I'm happy to report that I have found it, but you have to read it in order to figure out how.
I like a good tease for a book. So, reading your story, I did a lot of head nodding. I resonated. I feel like a lot of people are checking off the lists of what everyone else told them should make them happy. And I'm assuming that was part of your story. You want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Growing up there were a lot of expectations, just like this is a very normal story. So I feel like a lot of people resonate with that. You're told, get a good job, be a doctor, be, independent and the American dream, have the house and the family and the kids. And all of those things are wonderful. And for me, it was the how. And I remember walking into my first job, Laura, and I have always been in HR, human resources. So I'm, in charge of how it feels, basically, the people side of things. And I walked in and was like, whoa, this doesn't feel at all how I pictured, or how it, what fills me up in terms of being connected to your job and having joy, fulfillment. It was very transactional. And that one job wasn't outside of the norm. That kept happening from role to role to role. And I thought, you know what, there's something here. There is, this isn't about a job making you happy, a relationship making you happy, a house, a career, whatever it is. It's really about you finding alignment within yourself. It's not a one size fits all approach. Work is not cookie cutter. And so that's when I realized that, everybody really has their own way to go. And it's really about us finding and following our own map to find that joy and fulfillment. And career is a really big and important way, I think, for us to be able to find that. And that's how I found mine and continue to help other people.
Thanks for talking about that piece. I think that there are a lot of cookie cutter things going on out there. And let me just say thank you to all of you today, to just not only for saying yes to this project, but also for sharing those real examples. You all stepped up so brilliantly to say, yeah, I'll share my vulnerable story with you. And this book, you guys, goes on to share tools and things that you can put into practical practice and have an experience with. And the thing that Jacqueline is talking about, that place where you align, there are going to be some intense themes in this book, and this alignment thing is one of them. And so if you get anything from the book, it's going to be your custom way of aligning, like how it is for you inside. And you're going to have so many ways. You'll be taught so many ways to do that. So thank you, Jacqueline, for sharing about that. Mary Jo, how about you? Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Okay, well, yeah, so thank you, Laura. So first off, like you introduced me, I'm a 1-3 projector, and in human design, projectors engage in opportunities through what's called, the invitation and recognition. And Sabina here invited me to be a part of this project. And so once I got my clarity on it, I said, yes, I'm so excited to do this. And so my chapter is actually about the journey that I am doing right now with human design. I woke up, one morning, let's say, in a day in February, when I realized that I was working over 12 hours multiple days, all the time. And I was kind of like, what am I doing? Why am I working this hard? I don't need to be. And there were some, reasons for that introspection, which you can read my chapter and find out more about. However, I realized that the story that wanted to be told here was really about my human design experiment with, with really aligning, as you say, to my design, and finding a way to lean into that so that I could really stop the overworking and really enjoy what I was doing, and just letting go of things that I was doing because I thought I needed to, or somehow, like Jacqueline was talking about. And I think we all get caught up in that. It's very easy to. And so it's really an unraveling and a letting go. And so my chapter is chapter 6. And it is called Retirement Reimagined, and letting go to create flow. And so right now what I'm doing is letting go of a lot of busyness so that I can lean into and allow space for, what is going to be joyful and juicy and wonderful to flow in.
Which I would imagine actually makes you more productive in this day and age of grind and hustle, where we've been taught that 12-hour day is like, you better do that, or else you're not going to ever be able to keep up with the rest of your people around you doing it. But I think when I slow down and take care of that piece, I can be more productive. Tell me more about that for you.
So when you are really focusing on what is more joyful for you than the grind, like you're talking about, work stops being work. It just becomes either something you're completely absorbed in, or even sometimes a sense of play. There's still challenge there, and, being able to push yourself and grow yourself. So it's not about like stagnation or, not doing things, but it's more about just allowing that blossoming to happen.
I love that. You're making me think of my moments of work being play, and the very different energy that has, which then rejuvenates me constantly. Yes. And that would be the key, right? I think the end goal would be for everyone to feel like they're playing at work, and just, yes, I love being here, and this is making me feel energized and good and all of that.
Challenge just enough, but also
exactly,
still having that sense of play. And
Thank you, Mary Jo.
You're welcome.
Sabina, tell us about your amazing chapter.
My chapter is chapter 22, and it's entitled Leading with Soul, Step into Your Purpose and Unleash Your Wealth Potential. And it's all about how to create literally a career that is out of this world In this chapter, I talk about what initially began as a dramatic experience when I witnessed my father's death when I was only 17, and how that experience catapulted me into becoming actually a soul seer and having the multidimensional side. And from that moment forward, I'm sharing the story how I went about creating a life in which I lived. I mean, I'm trying to live like I can die any day, knowing that I have fulfilled my purpose. And that has to do with reverse engineering your entire life. So instead of like kind of going out and sort of like ending up in random jobs, transactional, I love what Jacqueline said, or I love what you just said, which is basically, play, creativity, more engagement. I was basically guided to really create my own reality. Later on, 30 years later, when I discovered human design, I'm a 3-5 manifesting generator. Come to find out, I was actually living my design. I've always been, because of my soul guidance, kind of like intuitively in that mode. And now that's basically what I'm helping people with, that feel really trapped in their careers or trapped in their roles, identities, and feel like they don't have that creativity, that life force energy anymore. And when we unleash that, what ironically is the number one thing that holds people back, like how do I pay my bills? How do I keep my lifestyle? The irony is, when we actually follow our purpose, there is so much wealth that gets unlocked in form of money and financial freedom, but also in form of travel, relationships, creativity, all that creative energy is becoming available. And that's what the chapter is about.
I love that bigger definition of wealth. Being able to include all of those things and juicy relationships and a connected spiritual life and right? Like we can make this list of what wealth means to you. And I love that. So talk to me a little bit about the tool that you taught in the chapter.
Yes, my tool is basically tapping into a higher dimensional state of consciousness where we truly do not exist to make a living. So our reality, that we grow up into and that we experience as normality, basically makes it almost impossible to live a life where you don't have to do a job, whether you hate it or love it, to kind of pay the bills, right? And so in my tool, I'm trying to sort of catapult people out of this reality, out of this normality, into a soul's dimension where we are actually, and this would be then the 5th dimension, where we actually are being rewarded. We are actually being paid for, if you so will, for fulfilling our purpose or for having that fulfillment. So then the question becomes not like, what is it that you do, or what's your job, or what's your career description? The question then comes, what is it that you love to do? What is it that turns you on? What gets those wheels, those creative juices going? And then when you do that, then, and again, that has to do directly with that wealth potential, then all of a sudden opportunities, potentials, all of that opens up. I'm an immigrant. I came with $1,000 to the United States, and I literally tapped into that wealth potential through connections, invitations, opportunities, and I pass them on to my projector friends, and I share them. And this is part of this wealth potential, that it becomes a shared fulfillment, a shared purpose, a shared network, a shared community of like-minded people.
Awesome, Sabina. Thank you so much. You're getting it. So you guys feel this passion, right? And we start to talk about this thing that we do, and especially human design for you guys. In this book, it is very clear to me that human design was a transformation for all of you authors. So the next thing I want to know about, and Mary Jo, I'm going to start with you for this one, is tell me about one of those biggest ahas that you had when you learned about your own human design.
Well, being a projector, again, one of the biggest ahas is that idea of the invitation, the the correct way to engage, in opportunities is to wait for the invitation and recognition of your skills.
Mary Jo, it is so hard to wait. Tell me more about like why I should wait for the invitation. I'm such an action taker, right? And obviously my type is different than your type is different than all the types that everyone is going to talk about. So let me really quickly just say to our listeners, you guys are going to hear a language today. And you have to learn the language a little bit, right? So we're going to be here to teach you about what Mary Jo is talking about in terms of a projector or a generator or a manifesting generator, and the chart and the channels and the defined and the undefined. I've been learning something, you guys. So Mary Jo, tell me more about this invitation. This is an important piece.
Yeah. So in human design, there are 5 different types, and generators and manifesting generators make up most of the world. And I think we have 2 manifesting generators. Jacqueline, I don't know what you are. What?
Manifesting generator.
Okay, so here we are, 3 manifesting generators and 1 projector, and that's about statistically correct. And so you guys all have what's called defined sacrals. And also you have channels that go directly to your throat. And so once you have gotten your yes, and you guys can talk about that, as far as entering opportunities, you can kind of just go and take off. For a projector, we have undefined or open sacrals. And that is the center for workforce, life force energy. And so it's inconsistent. And in order for it to be consistent and work for you, you need the projector needs an invitation to engage that energy. And so without that, we can spend our time trying to initiate, trying to get things done, trying to and it just doesn't work. and the feeling is, imagine yourself sitting in a meeting, maybe even like we are right now. And I had something that I wanted to say. And so I unmute myself and I start saying, here's a really great idea. I just want to share it with everybody. And everyone kind of looks at you and goes, okay. And then, mutes you. And then Sabina says it 5 minutes later and everyone's like, oh my God, that's the best idea I've ever heard. That's sort of what it's like to be in the world of a projector who hasn't been invited.
What a great example. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is a great one. And so you guys can probably also hear how this is going to come up in real life moments a lot, and you can be so triggered by it, right? Mary Jo, thank you for giving us that little education. Let's hear what Sabina's aha moment was. So when you were first learning this or, coming upon this kind of stuff, was there a moment where you realized something big?
Oh, absolutely, Laura. Yeah, I still remember to this day, the first really proper human design reading that I received from Chetan Palkin, who later became my beloved mentor, as well as Mary Jo Radcliffe's mentor. And when he was reading my design, he didn't explain, that's Gabe's X, Y, and Z, and that's that channel. He just kind of gave me the gist of the interpretation. And when I listened to the recording, I was either crying or laughing or both. I was in some sort of way becoming almost like my brain became unhinged. And it was hitting so many truth nerves, when you tickle somebody, and they're like, but you can't, you don't really know, are they having fun or are they starting to cry now? I felt a little bit like that when I had my human design reading, and I'm trying to create a reaction like that when I give a reading. So it's not just mechanical, geeky information. As you know, it's very, very complex. It took us years and years and continuing studies, to really get it into our bones so that we can look at the chart and then basically also make some meaning out of it. But what I really loved about when I learned it myself is the subtlety of little tweaks. I have a favorite saying, And this is very, very true for manifesting generators. Big doors hang on small hinges. So I really felt like I got the big picture for myself. My life has always been on purpose because I followed my soul versus, my ego mind that got me into all these, other directions. But where I really was benefiting the most from my human design expertise was that I could fine tune. And those little tweaks made such a big difference. For example, in less conflict, less inner or external, inner outer conflict, where I felt maybe I was overpowering, that was a big deal. I'm too much, like where, the projectors, they don't get that, but like sometimes manifesting generators get that a lot. And so now I can really be much more elegant and really know also exactly where I need to contribute to others to get the yeses, to have their doors open for greater possibilities to co-create.
I love that, Sabina. I have a similar story in that I have been living in purpose for a while. I came to it before I knew human design. And I'll quickly share my aha with you all before we hear Jacqueline's. And it was something I had been hearing myself say to people. And it was, and you guys might know this one, well, if I can do it, you can do it. Well, when I had a piece of my chart explained to me, I realized that there was something about me that I really can't say that to everyone. If I can do it, you can do it. I have this alien amount of willpower that not everybody has. And you guys, if you saw my chart, you could explain it or whatever. But I had to just stop for a minute there and go, oh, okay, so if I know that about myself, then how am I going to help other people aside from that sentence? If I can do it, you can do it. Because that's not always the truth, right? So that was my quick one. So
I love that. Yeah.
Thank you. Jacqueline, tell us about your aha with this whole thing about human design when it came into your life.
Completely. In the business world, there is a lot of go for it, just do it, that really driving energy, very, quick decision making. And I felt, like you said, Sabina, very large, too much, not large physically, but large energetically, emotional, very feelings based, and feelings don't, or, according to society, don't really belong in the workplace or in business. And my decision-making strategy is emotional. I am here to wait for emotional clarity, after I've been pulled to or away something in order to make a decision. And my big aha, once I learned my human design, was just how seen I felt. I was so seen, like, Jacqueline, yes, you are here to make decisions emotionally, and you can do that in business. And that is correct for you. And that is okay. And once I felt seen, I saw myself, I practiced making decisions based on having emotional clarity or not, which takes practice if you're not used to it, because even though it seems very simple and foundational, if you've been, living according to, make the yes or no checklist, or, here's how to make confident decisions. No, like when I figured out how to make decisions based on my emotional authority, meaning, did I feel good about something? Did I not feel good about something? I got so much confidence and really became a superpower in business. And so that was just a huge aha for me. And when I talk to other emotionals about that same thing, and they, figure it out for themselves, they have a very similar reaction, because we've been told to leave those emotions at home. So I've been really thankful for that.
I love that one so much. I want everyone listening on that particular one to understand that that piece is okay for you if that's how you do things. So we were taught that it wasn't, and it's so sad that we were taught that, because what you said is so true. That's a superpower, man. Like, big time. I love it, Jacqueline. Thank you. Okay. for all of you, I'm going to start with Sabina for this one, but I'm going to get around to all of you for this. I look at these tools as awareness tools, essentially all of these things that you're teaching in the book and what you're talking about, anything that helps us understand ourselves and the world around us can give us these, I consider them gifts of awareness. From that place, you have opportunity, right? With awareness, you get choices. So Sabina, what I really would love is if you would talk to me about how that personal practice of awareness looks in your day-to-day. What's that like for you?
For me personally, or as a human design specialist?
Either.
Either. So yeah, I agree with you. Human design isn't, I think the big thing right now is that I really want to say is that people sometimes get so almost like addicted again to the labels, you know. So let's not make human design the new box that you get to fit in, right? It's supposed to liberate you, to bring that precision awareness to those moments of, say, for example, emotional decision making or outer authority or whatever it may be in your case, so that you can be more in a synchronistic alignment. So for me, for myself, it looks as like my life is very, very smooth and very, even with business and relationships, it's all just really all the kinks, all the kind of sort of stuff that would, you know, get me kind of out of my flow is for the most part resolved because I have awareness and I have those tools when something surprising comes up. And how I use it in my business is to really create big shifts. In my human design, I have a very rare channel, the Alchemist channel, that gives me the opportunity to take lead and turn it into gold, to take something of a lesser quality and take it into, you know, and turn it into something bigger. And so I love to come into lives that have dead ended, that are literally kind of sort of where a person is stuck in the corner, stuck in the rut. And I'd like to, you know, like to take human design and then also my business and branding skills and combine them to show them a whole new world that opens up. And that's how I love to use it the most, not just as a guidance, but as almost like as a makeover, as an overall reinvention tool.
I like that term makeover for this too. That's great. Thank you, Sabina. So Jacqueline, how about you on this one? What's your personal practice look like in the day-to-day?
That is an amazing question. Like Sabina said, human design is a very practical, tactical tool. And I'm a very practical, tactical person, especially being in business. One of the challenges that I get to have is, you know, a lot of people are curious about how I do what I do, whether it's in a formal coaching situation or not. And one of the challenges is the languaging, like you mentioned, Laura. And so for me, I'm a very, you know, vocal person. I share what I'm doing. I share how I'm doing it. And it wasn't always, it wasn't just a costume that I could put on. It was really, it started with it, you know, noticing what, you know, how these things play out in my life. And so putting on that, I'll say like noticing filter every single day is what allowed me to live it day in and day out and experiment with it, practice with it. So for me, it's every morning, you know, kind of putting on this idea that you notice everything and be, you know, go in the direction that pulls you, do the things that you're pulled into, whether it's emotionally or from that gut response, but also the languaging around it. And so when I talk about it practically, it's in business terms, everyday language. I'm not easily able to talk about it in kind of your like everyday human design language, which is completely fine, but it's been a really fun challenge to talk about it in business terms. And so I don't know, every single morning I put on the idea that I'm following a map. The map is my own intuition. And this is kind of the little nuances that show up in my day-to-day.
I love what you just said. My map is my own intuition. I'm writing things down. So, okay, Mary Jo, how about you? What does this awareness practice look like in your day to day?
So I am also emotionally, my authority is emotional authority as well, and similar to Jacqueline. And so what that means for me is that I am, like always on this roller coaster of emotions, if you will. And so one of them was really learning not to be spontaneous and to really wait, sleep on things and wait for clarity. But the other thing that I do, and I work with clients on, and it's actually the tool that I shared in my chapter, is all about awareness and really tuning into what what your thoughts and your emotions are at any given time. And so I termed it catch and release. And basically it's really about just learning to just tune in at any time. It can be any time, and catch whatever thoughts or emotions you have and notice them. Like Jacqueline was talking about, she called it noticing. And then acknowledging them, I see you, and releasing it and just letting them be. And once you start to just learn how to be with yourself non-judgmentally, it's so much easier to, um, you know, align with things that are going to, feel good for yourself, or, be just in acceptance. And so the first part is the awareness piece that leads to the acceptance that then helps with the alignment. So that's a very simple way to develop that awareness.
And you guys, everyone is talking about their personal practice, the operative word being practice, right? So you all have spent a lifetime mastering these tools, practicing, creating disciplines of those beautiful practices so that it becomes more mastery, more automatic. And I want everybody listening to understand it. It all starts with the noticing. So I love that Jacqueline talked about the noticing filter. And you have to hear these things in all kinds of different ways. You have to be taught in different ways. Hence the beauty of this amazing book, because we're celebrating all of the different voices, stories, and ways to teach what this is. And so you guys know how you could hear something 10 times and not really get it until the 11th person comes along. And finally, all of a sudden, one of you was talking about that earlier for a different reason, but sometimes you just have to hear it that next time and remember, and then you light up with it. And I think that's awesome. Okay, so I have one more kind of question or something that I want all of you to comment on. Jacqueline, I'm going to start with you. And this is more about, we've had a tough couple of years here. And some of our viewers today might just still be a little stuck, feeling stuck on their journey, or worse than stuck, right? So a lot of weird things have gone on in the last couple of years, a lot of things that we've had to endure that were on top of what we were already living in terms of challenge in our life. So what would you tell them in terms of something simple they can do to ease their way onto this beautiful journey that you guys have been talking about?
That is an amazing question. I think one thing that we are all facing right now, regardless of our unique human design charts or energetic blueprints, is this need for this sense of security, sense of internal power, authority, however you want to phrase it, that exists only in ourselves and not outside of us. Because what's happening right now in the world, as we know, is externally things are a little bonkers. And I'm not a fortune teller, but there's no guarantee that that's going to close up or, be more safe anytime soon. We don't know what's going to happen. And so for me, one thing that's been very freeing is to really focus on internally, who I am, which human design chart really helps with, and where I'm going. And so every single morning, one thing that really helps me is to kind of go over my personal mission. This doesn't have to be some fancy thing that you put together. I wrote down my vision and my mission about a year ago, and I recorded myself reading it on my phone recording. And so it's kind of like my personal podcast. And on mornings when I'm not feeling so hot, not like myself, which is a lot of mornings, honestly, I don't wake up powerful and remembering where I'm going every morning. Some people do. I push play on that. And it is me reading my own mission, my own story, and reminding me where I'm going. And that has been really helpful for me to, tune everything out. Internally, I'm focused. And yeah, I have a family, I have a job, I have all these things, but this is where I'm headed. And this is what I can focus on. So I'd say that's one way that I've been able to really get a sense of my personal power, and could be a suggestion for others out there who are listening.
I love that homework. Everybody, go create your personal podcast so that you can just hit play every morning, listen to your beautiful self. It's almost like looking into a mirror and hearing everything. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. That's definitely the high-tech version of mirror work right there. Mary Jo, how about you? What would you say to someone who's feeling just a little stuck still?
So one of the foundation principles that I really believe in and have, been able to live by with human design is that all the answers lie within. And so really starting to tune into yourself and really, learn to listen to yourself and trust your intuition and what you are feeling, and knowing that you have an inner guidance system inside yourself, and to stop trying to seek all the answers outside and just know that you have all the answers and all you need inside yourself. And if you really tune in and start really listening to yourself, you'll know what to do.
Yes, Mary Jo, there was a time maybe when some of you listening, you doubted that was even there. So now what we're saying to you with confidence is, oh, it's there. So just be curious. And if you're not connected with it yet, we have a lot of people who can help you.
Yeah, there's many ways to do it.
Yes. Thank you, Mary Jo. Sabina, you are going to close out this show today. Tell us what you would suggest.
I love to piggyback on what you just said, Mary Jo, which is basically all the answers reside within. With all of this external focus, external stimuli, of which we have plenty, and all of this, sort of like also external control, or certainly like it's almost like it gets sort of like under our skin. I would really say that this gives us the map to just orient ourselves inside of ourselves. My conscious sun is in gate 8, which basically means that I really am not here for the mediocre. I'm here for the sort of individuation of humanity. And I think this is the beautiful thing that we can appreciate again at this moment in this collective sort of like crucible, that the individuation, the individual voice is not, just to be unified or sort of like, it's got to be its own thing. And if we have lost the key to our own inner kingdoms, then human design can give us that key. Like this. It's like literally a genetic awakening. And I think it's very, very useful to navigate through this passage, but also to find, your own little worlds and your own little, passion projects, whether you have already a career or whether you want to also expand into something completely different. It's a very, very practical tool. Like Jacqueline said, she uses this in business. I use it to guide business owners or people that, need to make different career choices. And it brings us back to the title, Stop Overworking, Stop Overworrying. Also, that's a form of mental overworking, and start overflowing into your individuality, which is the key to freedom and self-liberation.
I love it. This can be a genetic awakening of sorts, y'all. I heard those words from Sabina. Authors, to all of you, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everybody. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
So to our viewers, please know that all you have to do to take the next step in these expert author, human design experts worlds is just drop down into the show notes, because I have you hooked up with their websites, and do take the next step to explore. Because if something that one of these ladies said today resonated with you, and now you're a little more curious than you were before, you're curious about that chart or getting a reading or any of their services, they're waiting, generously waiting for you to reach out and ask those questions. So please do that, you guys. And join us on October 19th at 10 a.m. Eastern, because we're going to be celebrating with a live stream book launch party on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. I have you hooked up with that link down below as well. All of our authors will be there that day to share their wisdom and celebrate this very powerful book. And of course, if you're listening after that date, well, then head over to Amazon, because that means the book is ready for your purchase. And we can't wait to hear what you think about all of these stories and amazing tools that we're presenting in Stop Overworking and Start Overflowing. 25 ways to transform your life with human design. Lastly, today, you guys remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everybody.